Welcome back, guys, and today I want to talk about the best deck that you can play, the best budget deck that is here in the Water Wind event. So we have this Water Wind event, which is kind of a special one because we never had such a strange combination of attributes like Dark Light we had, and this is like the more common one. Water Wind definitely is something new, and I have to say something very interesting. We can quickly take a look at the loner decks here, so I can tell you what I think is the best choice here before talking about the best budget deck that you will be able to make without any ultra rares. Then again, if you want to upgrade this specific deck, I will also give you some options. So obviously we have the Ancestral Ice Dragon, we have Ice Dragon. This is not a big surprise as the event is normally related to the pack that has just released, and we have just gotten the new Ice Barrier stuff, namely the starter card, if you want to call her that, the Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier. And this is definitely not a bad deck. We can see that the Infinite Permanence, I guess we will see this in every deck, is in here. There's also a Ghost Mourner, Moonlit Shield, so if you have access to either the Ghost Mourner or the Infinite Permanence, this is also an option that you could use to basically improve your deck when it comes to ultra rares that you might already have in your collection. But yeah, this is a Synchro archetype that is able to basically rip your opponent's hand via this Trishula that you can make. Definitely not the worst deck that has ever been a loner deck here. Also, I think that basically the compilation of cards that we have in here actually works together, because sometimes we had these loner decks with very bad like base ideas that weren't really workable. But this here works. The Ancestral Ice Dragon, we have Speedy Dragons on Clear Wings, once again having the Imperm and the Ghost Mourner in here. This is more of like a Synchro body based deck, and in my opinion the worst deck of them all. A quick spoiler alert, but yeah, it's definitely hard because we have also Droll and Lockbird that is allowed in this format, which is definitely good against this deck. It is a super rare, so a budget option that a lot of people will probably opt to use. Also an Imperm goes hard on some of these monsters, and for a lot of people I guess this will be a deck that they would have to learn from the start, because you basically never see this on the ladder and probably have not played it yourself. Then again, we have cool starters like the Speedroid Terratop together with the Speedroid Takatomborg, giving you basically 2 level 3 bodies to start your plays, which is quite nice. But yeah, we have this Speedroid deck here, and then for the last deck we have Hazy Moonlight in the Depths of Space, which is the Goatee deck. We have the new Goatee support, and I think this is actually a quite nice one. Goatee, definitely a deck that not a lot of people are aware of how it is played, so you might get used to this or watch a few videos about this specific archetype, but this can definitely be strong. Once again, we see the same hand trap line up here, providing us with some nice hand traps, and then you can see this is once again a very synchro based deck. We have cards like the Supreme Sovereign Sword Soul, we have Goatee of the Deep Beyond, and this is a deck that mainly cares about banishing its own monsters and then bringing them back for advantage. This can also play going second quite well and can be a powerhouse if used correctly. In my opinion, if you want to pick the strongest loner deck, I would probably go for the Goatee one, then the Ice Dragon one, and then this Speedroid one. But this also depends on your preference and your playstyle, and also on whether you know the specific decks or not. But let's now talk about the deck that I would probably use if I would go full budget. So I have promised you a deck that you need no ultra rares for. There are definitely other variants or other decks that you could also play. You can also play, for example, a Marincess deck without any ultra rares. And then again, I think this is a bit more complicated because the Marincess boss monsters are ultra rares, so you definitely want to have them. And of course, the deck I would suggest to you is Florn Reese deck. I know a lot of people hate this deck, but you might see this as an opportunity to be able to play this deck once this year and then basically never touch it again. You don't need to play it on the ladder, and as you can see, we have some ultra rares in here, but I decided to only put the ultra rares in here that you can get through the packs, basically through the 700 gem packs, where you get a free ultra rare. So you might already have them in your collection. If not, then you should definitely get these packs because they are worth their money and should be bought very early on a new account. I'm talking about Forbidden Droplet, Infinite Permanence, the Judgment, and the Lightning Storm. Obviously, then this basically doesn't need to be said, if you have more infinite impermanences, then go and put in more infinite impermanences. In this case, put out the Forbidden Chalices, because Forbidden Chalice is basically a cheaper version. It says target one face a monster on the field until the end of this turn that the target gains 400 attack, but effects are negated. So this is also a targeted negation like infinite impermanence is. Then again, you can't use this from your hand on your opponent's turn, which is what makes it way worse than infinite impermanence. So if you have imperm, put it in here, put these things out. We have some power spells like Evenly Matched, which I think is definitely a nice choice in this format, a very cheap board breaker in the form of a super rare that can break a lot of boards and give you the opportunity to just play from there. This also works together with the Florent Reese archetype, as this is not an archetype that you use your monsters for to clear your opponent's entire board. Yeah, you have your boss monster, your Empen here that you can search via your Eaglin, so it's not a big problem that this is at 1 currently, and you also have access to Razor, the Mega Monarch, of course, if you want to go for that. You can also use the, is it even legal here, the Apex Avian? I would guess so. Isn't it called Apex Avian? Is it not legal? I think it's not legal. Okay, then that makes sense. You could have gone for the Apex Avian, which is an ultra rare, so in this case is not legal for this event. But we have Razor, the Mega Monarch, which is also very strong in clearing your opponent's board. Also a very cool card. The Monarch card's always cool and a throwback from older times. And then I opted to put in cards like Book of Moons and Book of Eclipses, because they can also help you board break or interrupt your opponent, but are also cheap options, as this is a rare and this is a super rare. We are obviously playing a max amount of pots here because we need to find our starters. This is very important. We are also playing a Jack in the hand, reveal 3 level 1 monsters with different names from your deck. Your opponent adds 1 to their hand, you add 1 to your hand, and you shuffle the 3rd into the deck. Normally you pick the Robina, then an Eaglin, and then something else, which normally leads to your opponent picking the Robina, so you don't get the Robina, but then you can get your Eaglin and maybe start your plays from there. And the cool thing with the Evenly Matched, and this is what I've just mentioned basically, is that you don't need your monsters or your attacking monsters to break your opponent's boards. You have your Florent Reese and Empen with 2/7 attack, but then you have your little birds with 600 and 700, 800, and they are obviously not going to break a big board. So this is why we are using the Evenly Matched here. Unfortunately, only have 1 copy of the field spell, and then we have the very cool continuous spell that can also tribute opponent's monsters. Very, very strong. And we are playing Drowning Lockbird, as this will go hard against a lot of decks, and this is a hand trap that you can opt for early on. One of the only hand traps that we can play here. Obviously, once again, if you would have had, or if you have like hand traps like the Ghost Mourner, then go ahead and put them in here. They are obviously very nice, they are very effective. You can put them in here instead of having like books in here, for example the Book of Moon. These are only options that we are using because we don't have access to a lot of hand traps. And for the extra deck, you see that I only put 6 cards in here for now. This is Allurelisk Assembled Nightingale, and this is Kiki Nagashi Fuchu. You can make them both with 2 level 1 monsters, and they basically protect you for 1 turn from being killed, right? Because for example, this card can once per turn quick effect, we can detach raw material from this card. Until the end of this turn, Allurelisk monsters we control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. Also, you take no battle damage, which is very nice. And then the Fuchu can basically do the same. So if you want to skip a turn or need to skip a turn, you can do this with these monsters here, which is very nice. Otherwise, you don't need your extra deck. This is like Labyrinth, a deck that normally, or I guess Labyrinth isn't really a deck anymore that only plays with its main deck, but it was before. But this is a deck that only cares for its main deck, so you don't need all the extra deck monsters. Keep in mind though to put extra deck monsters in here. It doesn't matter which ones you take, because obviously we are playing cards like the Pot of Extravagance and the Pot of Prosperity that need you to banish monsters from the extra deck. So you want to have at least 12 in here, so that maybe not the Enigmaster pack, but you need to at least have 12 in here so that you have the ability to use both pots once. Obviously, if you would only have 1, or if you would have less than 12 exotic monsters in here, then you would not be able to activate Prosperity and Extravagance. Don't worry, you don't have to worry for the Pot of Duality, as this can just excavate from every point. Basically, you don't need any condition in the extra deck for that. Once again, if you have more like Solemn Judgments, you could also go put them in and put cards like the Chalice out. Everything that you have that is an ultra resource, Forbidden Droplet as well, because you are working with a lot of bodies that you need to tribute summon, but you can definitely spare some of them them. So these are options that you could go for if you want to make this deck a bit more effective. Once again, another Lightning Storm could also do the trick. I'm not quite sure where or if we have like the classic board breakers. We have the classic board breakers. You could also go for a Raigeki here. This is a card you get for free by playing the game, and then cards like Duster will probably also be in here. I have not checked for them. Yeah, but Dust is also an opportunity, which is obviously an ultra rare. And then if you have it, now that I see it, put in a Harpy's Featherstorm, because you can just set this and skip your opponent's turn. But this is an ultra rare, so this is not something I wanted to mention here. But these are options. So if you have all these cards, if you have the Florina rescore, then obviously put all the good ultra rares in here. Otherwise, you can definitely go ahead and use this budget deck to be successful in this event and to finish it as fast as you can, if this is your goal. Thanks for being here. We will see each other in the next one. Please consider subscribing, hitting a thumbs up and the notification bell, as this helps me out a lot. Bye.